If I don't know how to do something, I, like most people, will immediately turn to one of the many free tutorial videos on the internet. From changing a light bulb to putting a baby onesie on a cat, there's no topic these step-by-step instructional videos don't cover. But sometimes, these simple how-tos go hilariously wrong, and the outcomes are pretty spectacular. So, get ready to laugh, cry, and cringe as we take a look at some of the funniest tutorial attempts that didn't go to plan. There are millions of DIY beauty tutorials out there that claim to cure every skin affliction you can think of with simple combinations of household items. But just because they're easy doesn't mean they're easy to use, as lifestyle vlogger Lou Paganelli demonstrated back in 2015. She showed the world her gelatin face mask recipe, made from just a tablespoon of powdered gelatin and a tablespoon of water briefly heated up in the microwave. Claiming she'd used it many times before to remove pesky blackheads and dead skin, she instructed the audience to apply the mixture all over the face and let it dry. But as she demonstrated how to remove it, the mixture was so well adhered to her skin that it could only be ripped off in small, crispy, painful-sounding segments. Ouch! And she hasn't even gotten to the super sensitive skin under her eyes yet. To add insult to injury, the mask barely removed anything from her skin. By the end of the tutorial, the pain was just too much for Lou to bear, and she washed the rest of the mask off. Now, homemade gelatin mask recipes usually call for some oil, milk, or other lubricant to be added to the mix so that it's easier to peel off and doesn't hurt as much. A step Lou clearly missed out. On the bright side for Lou though, blackheads and dead skin on her face won't be a problem in the future if she doesn't have a face left. Maybe she should have tried something a little easier, like playing this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. This online PvP dark fantasy game is so easy to play, you don't even need a tutorial. Use my links below to download Raid yourself to your mobile phone or PC. Seriously, it's so fun and intuitive, you can play it anywhere. Here are my top 5 places to play. In bed? Sure thing. On the bus? No problem. Under the desk? So sneaky. On the toilet? Remember to flush. Bungee jumping? Yup, literally anywhere. All while leveling up your champions, grinding XP, and getting loads of silver and artifacts at the same time. How cool is that? And this month, Raids released a huge new Doom Tower update. There are 2 huge new bosses, Astranix the Dark Fae and Bommel the Dreadhorn, along with new enemy balance on tower floors, new secret rooms, and new artifact sets to win. Not enough for you? Try the new Super Raid feature and double up your rewards by hitting dungeons to speed up your progress. Get a huge head start by hitting the link in the description or scan my QR code and you'll get Shinaru, an epic hero who's amazing in the Doom Tower, 200,000 silver, 1 day XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game. But before that, let's dive back into more tutorials gone rogue. Now, gelatin masks aren't the only painful skin peels on the market. Charcoal or black masks are supposed to be skin clarifying mixtures that, when dry, adhere to the skin, promising to remove blackheads, dead skin, and small hairs when peeled off. With that being said, it's best to avoid putting them anywhere near your eyebrows, as first-time face peel documenter Cindy Morell discovered. Ow! That sounds like she's ripping off duct tape. But that wasn't the worst part. All too late, she suddenly realized she'd accidentally taken off half her eyebrow. That must have been pretty embarrassing to explain. You might be wondering why ripping out most of an eyebrow wasn't painful enough for her to know when to stop, right? Well, depending on the mixtures, the adhesion of these peels can be impossibly painful, no matter what part of the face they're peeling. So she might not have been able to tell whether she was ripping out an eyebrow or tearing off her skin if the pain was that bad. And Cindy's not the only one to suffer from this beauty blunder. In 2020, this kid tried to film a tutorial on how to use charcoal face masks, but instead made one on how to lose an eyebrow. Now that is the face of a kid who knows they're in trouble. What she should have done is avoided her eyebrows entirely, or put a little Vaseline on them so the mixture would slide off. Well, like Cindy, she learned her lesson the hard and painful way. Few YouTubers have left their mark on the platform quite like makeup queen Naomi John, although there's one video that left its mark on her, literally. Addressing her near 2 million subscribers back in 2018, Naomi tried her hand at the fake freckle trend going around on social media. The process was simple. Using a tube of henna, which is a kind of semi-permanent skin dye, she dotted the freckles all over her face. But she admitted a pretty crucial mistake early on. She hadn't tested the dye beforehand. Not only that, but she decided to go big with the henna, dotting most of her face. Suffice to say, the result wasn't exactly the natural look she expected.
I want to die. Vincent!
To her credit, she laughed the situation off like a boss and tried to cover it with concealer and foundation. But not even the strongest formula in her bag was enough to mask the major mistake. So, what exactly went wrong? Well, it's pretty clear that she put far too much henna on, and her pale complexion made each dark dot stand out even more. Fortunately, henna doesn't last forever, and 1 week later, Naomi posted a video showing a freckle-free face. Phew! Well, between those super painful face peels and that terrible semi-permanent face tattoo, which one do you think was worse? For the face peels, hit that like button, and for the freckles, hit that subscribe button. Reckon they were as hilariously bad as each other? Then hit both. Alright, where were we? With most hairdressers being shut over the last year thanks to the pandemic, many people have tried their own hands at hairdressing, like YouTuber Jaskarn Bandon here. She wanted to trim back her lovely long locks to about chin length and figured the best way to get an even look was to cut measured sections of her hair off in bands. In theory, this is pretty smart, but in practice, Jaskarn accidentally cut above the first band and didn't realize it until it was too late.
I forgot. Oh my god.
Considering she just cut off half her hair, she remained remarkably cool. But instead of putting the scissors down and going to the hairdressers to salvage what was left, she decided to go one step further. Yup, she shaved the section off. Unfortunately, her scissor-happy first attempt left her with some slightly longer sections at the back, so she was sporting 3 separate hair lengths. In her own words,
I mean, like, it doesn't look really bad, but it looks bad.
After a few days, she braved the shave and decided to give herself a full buzz cut. You may be thinking this was a huge mistake, but 1 year on, her hair is looking incredibly healthy, though she still cuts her own hair and still doesn't cut under the band. Anyone else think it'll only be a matter of time before we see her sporting buzz cut number 2? During lockdown, TikTok beauty Sharon Lua filmed herself trying to cut in a cute little fringe. And unlike Yang, she was going about it with a set of sensibly sized scissors, not garden shears. But right at the crucial moment, she got a little too eager. I'm not sure if she meant to cut above her fingers, but she managed to cut off a huge chunk of hair, leaving her with some serious Lord Farquaad energy. Not everyone can afford the average $200 it costs to have a professional hairdresser bleach their hair. But does that stop most people? Judging by results like this, obviously not. Bleach works by breaking up the chemical bonds of chromophores, which are atoms responsible for the color of a compound. This is why bleach can remove color from almost anything, from fabric to hair. However, it needs to be left to develop. At the hairdressers, individual foils are used to keep in all the heat and moisture, speeding up the process without damaging the hair too much. But people at home can achieve similar results by placing a plastic bag over their head. Here's the thing though, bleach doesn't differentiate between hair and plastic, as this poor lady found out. The chromophores making up the blue logo of that Kroger bag were broken down by the bleach and transferred onto her head. It's a hilariously common mistake many home hairdressers make. So if you're thinking of bleaching your hair yourself, remember to use a clear plastic-like cling film, unless you want to look like a walking advertisement for your local store. Now, Britain isn't known for being the land of great cuisine, after providing the world with dishes such as bangers and mash, beans on toast, and even pie sandwiches. But it somehow gets worse when you take a look at Kay's cooking. This YouTube tutorial channel started up 5 years ago, documenting wannabe chef Kay's attempts at making meals. But they look so unappealing that they'd leave even Gordon Ramsay speechless. And the worst of them all has to be her attempt at making special fried rice. It starts off promisingly, with Kay heating oil in a wok and cutting up what I can only describe as an insane amount of garlic. After throwing that in the wok and burning it beyond recognition, she does the unthinkable.
And now add the rice.
That's uncooked rice! Clearly, Kay woke up that morning and chose chaos. After stirring the rice around, she then adds in egg, ham, and peas before presenting the hate crime on a plate to her son for a taste test.
Rice is a bit crunchy, but...
Yeah, well that's probably because it's got a bit burnt, but yeah.
Oh, so nothing to do with the fact she didn't actually cook the rice. Well, I think we can safely say that this special fried rice tutorial is definitely special. During the pandemic, a lot of people turned to DIY beauty trends to try and alleviate their boredom. One of these was waxing, specifically facial waxing. A glob of melted wax is placed inside the nostrils and ears, and when it sets, it's pulled out, ripping any hair away with it. That guy in the salon made it look pretty painless. But what if you're doing it at home? Well, YouTuber Mike Woods and his assistant here are about to give a tutorial on how not to do it, starting with the left ear.
1, 2.
Ooh, maybe the right will be less painful? I'm gonna take that as a no. Well, how about them nostrils?
Ready?
Oh, that is a lot of hair. But they saved the worst for last. Having used a bit too much wax and a really slippery stick, Mike's assistant just couldn't get a grip. Not once. Not twice. But 3 times. She finally put him out of his misery on the 4th try. This is why you should use a stick with grain, like wood, for grip, as opposed to smooth and slippery plastic. I mean, they say that beauty is pain, and if that's true, then Mike must be the ultimate beauty queen. While some how-to videos are planned meticulously, others can be made in the heat of the moment, like Alexis's exploration into the world of tutorial making. In a fit of boredom, she started applying hot wax to her face before deciding to commit to smearing the hot substance all over and filming the result. Now, facial waxing is usually done one section at a time in thin layers to prevent dealing excessive damage to the skin. So creating a thick, rock-hard mask of the stuff wasn't the safest choice. As she started peeling it off, it didn't seem like she was suffering too much.
It's honestly not that bad.
But then she reached the more sensitive sections of her face.
I'm gonna wait to do that last. That kind of hurts.
Now, most tutorial pros would have found a way to make this disaster work, but the more Alexis peeled off, the more nightmare-inducing her how-to became. Ugh, imagine waking up to that staring at you from the end of your bed. She managed to remove it all eventually, but her skin was red raw underneath. While she definitely saw the funny side of it, if you enjoy having your skin on your face, maybe don't follow this tutorial. But even well-thought-out tutorials don't always go to plan if YouTuber Mothball Jim's plumbing tutorial is anything to go by. Quite confidently, Jim states he's going to show everyone how to quickly unblock a bathroom sink.
I have no plumbing experience whatsoever. I just literally Googled how to unblock a sink.
So, he's never done this before and has just quickly Googled how to fix it. Sounds like the perfect person to make a tutorial about this, right? Well, as you probably guessed, he runs into trouble less than 1 minute in.
Alright, it's gonna be harder than I thought.
After realizing his sink's ceramic stand has been sealed to the floor, he then spends most of the video struggling to remove it. Failing to do that, he settles for shifting it to the side slightly so he can have a go at the pipes, but that doesn't go down well either. He tries for several more futile minutes to get the guard off, but it's no use. After 7 minutes of video, he finally admits defeat, filming himself laying down on the floor with a still blocked sink. Looks like that's Sink 1, Wannabe Plumber 0. Back in 2016, a little-known LA-based YouTuber called Ali J started posting a series of basic beauty tutorials online. From how to make your foundation look flawless to doing your hair for any occasion, there was nothing Ali couldn't teach you through the camera. Despite her preppy, perky attitude though, she didn't have many followers or views on her videos, but that all changed on July 5th, 2019. She was showing the world how to create a simple yet flawless red lip when a literal disaster struck. Poor Ali J had chosen to film her 5-minute tutorial right as a 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck LA. It was just one of a series of earthquakes that destroyed homes, sparked fires, and caused a total of $100 million in damages. Thankfully, Ali was okay, but her red lip video turned into a Joker makeup tutorial. Maybe it was Mother Nature trying to tell her that she doesn't suit that shade? Customizing things like t-shirts and tote bags is pretty simple if you have access to transfer paper. This specialist paper is coated in a thin layer of wax and pigment. By printing a pattern on it from a standard inkjet printer, the ink is held in place. But applying heat on the underside melts the wax and adheres the ink pattern onto another surface. Sounds simple, right? Well, the people over at the Products Reviews and Challenges YouTube channel made a tutorial that made it look very hard to get right. Their host goes through the motions of printing out their design on transfer paper, placing it on the underside up on a shirt, before using a hilariously small handheld iron for a few seconds. The results are as successful as you'd expect.
Something happened.
Realizing their mistake, they bring back the tiny iron for round 2, but it's just not hot enough.
How do we do? I don't know.
Nope.
Well.
Refusing to learn from their mistakes, they try using the tiny iron one more time. 3rd time's the charm. Will they finally succeed?
Watch, it's not gonna work.
Wait.
Well, it's not a complete failure, but it's far from a perfect print. If you want to avoid this sort of patchy finish yourself, make sure your iron can reach more than 160 degrees Fahrenheit, as that's the highest melting point of most waxes. Or don't, if you prefer less professionalism in your prints. When it comes to fishing, few men measure up to Bill Dance. Host of Bill Dance Outdoors, a fishing program that's run on the American airwaves since 1968, Bill has hosted more than 900 episodes educating wannabe anglers on how to be better fishermen. But with all that airtime, there's been more than a few fishing fails caught on camera. Like here, when his cameraman was trying to get a close-up shot of his catch on board his boat.
Oh, man.
Not a master of spatial awareness, I guess. I dread to think how much that camera cost. Even though he's a certified pro, he's also had his fair share of equipment-related failures while trying to dispense advice, like this gem. Even pros need to double check where their equipment is before slamming things shut for effect. Although this has to be the finest of them all. I think the lesson here is that all anglers need to remember to test their footing around the water's edge, unless they want to follow in Bill's very wet footsteps. Which of these tutorial fails did you think was the funniest? And have you ever tried to follow one that ended up in disaster? Let me know down in the comments below. And thanks for watching.